Taka a deep breath. And let's hear a story about Lila, the little goat who discovered that her uniqueness was her greatest strength. In a hidden village nestled between enchanted mountains, little Lila the goat lived with her family in a cozy cottage with a roof of golden straw. Every morning, the gentle sunlight would filter through her window, casting warm patterns across her wooden floor as birds sang melodies that danced on the cool mountain breeze. Lila would watch the elegant sheep in the meadow, their fluffy wool gleaming in the sunlight like freshly fallen snow on a winter morning. Lila's crooked little horns curved in unusual directions, unlike the perfect spirals of the other goats in her family. When she spoke, her bleats came out with a funny pitch that made the other animals turn their heads in surprise. The soft grass tickled her hooves as she walked along the edge of the meadow, watching the sheep from a distance, admiring their graceful movements and acceptance. The village itself was a collection of charming cottages with colorful flower boxes hanging from each windowsill, filling the air with sweet fragrances of lavender and honeysuckle. Babbling brooks wove between the homes, their gentle gurgling creating a soothing lullaby that residents enjoyed as they drifted off to sleep each night. In the center of the village stood an ancient oak tree, its branches spreading wide like protective arms over the community gathering space. Lila would often sit beneath this tree, feeling the rough texture of its bark against her back as she closed her eyes and listened to the whispering leaves sharing secrets from distant lands. Sometimes, as the sun began to set and painted the sky in hues of pink and gold, Lila would climb the gentle hill behind her home and gaze at the sheep meadow below. The cool evening air would caress her fur like a mother's gentle touch, bringing with it the sweet scent of wildflowers and fresh hay from nearby barns. One particular group of sheep caught Lila's attention every day. They moved with such grace and confidence, their wool meticulously groomed and their gentle baas perfectly harmonized. Lila imagined what it might be like to belong to such a refined group, to be admired and appreciated rather than feeling so different. With each passing day, Lila's longing grew stronger, like a melody that repeats in one's mind until it cannot be ignored. She collected bits of wool that had caught on brambles and fences, feeling their softness between her hooves and imagining how it might feel to wear such a magnificent coat instead of her plain fur. The village elders often told stories beneath the ancient oak, their voices as soothing as the evening breeze, speaking of courage and acceptance. But Lila's heart was too filled with doubt to truly hear their wisdom, like a cup too full to receive any more liquid, no matter how precious or sweet it might be. One misty morning, as dewdrops clung to every blade of grass like tiny crystal beads, Lila made a decision. She carefully wrapped herself in the collected wool, tucking in her crooked horns and practicing a soft bay instead of her natural bleat, her heart pounding like gentle thunder in her chest. With nervous steps that barely disturbed the morning mist swirling around her hooves, Lila approached the sheep meadow, her disguise complete. The soft wool felt strange against her skin, both comforting and restrictive. like a blanket wrapped too tightly on a warm summer night when only a sheet is needed. As the first rays of sunlight broke through the mountain peaks, casting long golden fingers across the dewy landscape, Lila took a deep breath filled with the sweet scent of morning grass and wildflowers. With courage gathered like precious stones in her heart, she stepped into the sheep meadow, ready to begin her new life. The elegant sheep were gathered near a crystal-clear pond, their reflections dancing on the water's surface like living paintings. Their conversation flowed as smoothly as honey from a jar, and they turned with curious eyes as Lila approached, her heart beating like a gentle drum beneath her borrowed wool. The sheep welcomed Lila with gentle nudges and soft bleats, curious about this different sheep who had joined their meadow. They admired her unusual walk and the way she seemed to climb with ease over rocks that they struggled with, not realizing these were her natural goat abilities shining through her woolen disguise. Days passed like pages turning in a favorite book, each one bringing new experiences as Lila learned the ways of the sheep. She felt the cool morning dew between her toes, breathed in the sweet scent of clover, and listened to the melodic conversations of her new friends, her heart both happy and heavy at the same time. At night, when the silver moon hung like a lantern in the velvet sky, Lila would carefully adjust her wool covering, making sure her horns remained hidden. The stars twinkled above like knowing eyes, witnessing her secret as she whispered gratitude for her new acceptance while missing the comfort of being truly herself. The sheep taught Lila their graceful ways, how to move with deliberate steps across the meadow, how to appreciate the subtle flavors of different grasses, and how to groom her wool until it shimmered in the sunlight like morning dew on spider webs. Their patience wrapped around her like a warm blanket on a chilly evening. With each passing day, Lila became more beloved among the sheep, her different perspective often helping them see the meadow and mountains in new ways. Her keen eyes could spot the sweetest berries growing on distant slopes, and her strong legs could navigate paths the sheep found difficult, though they never questioned why. In quiet moments, when the afternoon sun warmed her back and butterflies danced between wildflowers like living rainbows, Lila would feel a twinge in her heart. The wool felt heavier each day, not just on her body, but on her spirit, like carrying a bucket of water that gradually fills with stones. The sheep's meadow bordered a flowing river where silver fish jumped like living gems, breaking the water's surface. Lila loved to sit by this river, listening to its gentle song as it traveled from the mountains to distant lands she could only imagine, carrying stories and secrets in its clear, cool depths. One perfect summer afternoon, as dragonflies skimmed across the water's surface like tiny blue boats, dark clouds began gathering behind the mountains. The air grew heavy with the scent of rain, and distant thunder rumbled, like a giant's footsteps approaching their peaceful valley, soft but unmistakable. The sheep grew nervous, their usual grace giving way to anxious movements as they huddled together, seeking comfort in numbers. Rain began falling, first as gentle kisses from the sky, then heavier, like a shower of silver coins that quickly turned the ground soft and slippery beneath their hooves. Lightning flashed like brilliant cracks in the darkened sky, illuminating the meadow in brief moments of stark clarity. The river, usually so gentle and melodic, began to rise with alarming speed, its song changing from a lullaby to an urgent warning as it spilled over its banks and flooded the lower meadow. The sheep bleated in fear as they sought higher ground, but the paths were treacherous, and the flock became separated by rising waters and fallen branches. Lila felt her heart racing, not with fear, but with a sudden clarity, like morning fog lifting to reveal a familiar landscape she had always known existed. With purposeful movements, Lila shed her wool covering, feeling the rain against her true coat for the first time in weeks. Her crooked horns, finally free, caught the occasional flash of lightning, like nature's crown, as she began to navigate the treacherous terrain with the sure-footedness that only a mountain goat possesses. Lila called out to the scattered sheep, her natural bleat carrying across the storm with surprising strength and clarity. She bounded across slippery rocks and leaped over swollen streams, her heart beating with purpose and her eyes sharp in the dim light, finding each lost sheep and guiding them toward safety. As the storm began to subside, leaving behind a landscape washed clean and glistening with droplets that captured miniature rainbows, Lila stood before the gathered sheep in her true form, her crooked horns no longer hidden, her voice no longer disguised. She waited with a pounding heart to see rejection in their eyes, like a performer after the final curtain falls. Instead, the sheep moved forward one by one, their gentle touches and soft bleats expressing gratitude and acceptance that needed no translation. "Your differences saved us," they said, their voices harmonizing like a gentle choir. "Your strength and courage are gifts that come from being exactly who you are." Tears welled in Lila's eyes, rolling down her cheeks like the last raindrops from leaves after a summer shower. Years of hiding and doubt melted away like morning mist under the warm sun, leaving behind a clarity that filled her lungs with each breath of the fresh, rain-washed air around them. In the days that followed, Lila adorned her crooked horns with wildflowers, whose fragrance surrounded her like a personal cloud of sweetness. She taught the young sheep to appreciate their own unique qualities, her voice carrying across the meadow in its natural distinctive tone that now brought smiles rather than turned heads. The village began to change too, as animals of all kinds found inspiration in Lila's story. The ancient oak tree in the center of the village became a gathering place where differences were celebrated, its spreading branches like open arms welcoming all beneath its protective canopy, regardless of their appearance or abilities. On warm evenings, as golden sunlight filtered through leaves creating patterns like nature's lace on the ground below, Lila would share her experiences with young animals who felt different. Her words flowed like honey, sweet and nourishing, carrying wisdom that sank into receptive hearts and minds like rain into thirsty soil. Lila discovered that her crooked horns were perfect for reaching berries that grew in tight places, and her unique voice could carry warnings farther than others, making her an invaluable member of the community. Her differences, once sources of shame, became her most celebrated qualities, like gems that shine brightest when finally brought into the light. The sheep and goats began working together, each contributing their natural strengths to create a community stronger than either group alone could manage. They built new paths up the mountain, finding meadows rich with sweet grass and herbs that neither group had explored before, expanding their world with each collaborative effort. Sometimes, as stars appeared in the evening sky like distant lanterns guiding weary travelers home, Lila would think about her journey. Gratitude would fill her heart like warm tea on a cold day, spreading comfort through her entire being as she reflected on the lessons learned and the joy found in self-acceptance. Young animals from across the village would seek Lila's guidance, drawn to her wisdom and the peaceful energy that surrounded her like a gentle aura. She listened with patient ears and offered words that landed like soft feathers in troubled hearts, bringing comfort and perspective to those still finding their way. The seasons changed, painting the landscape in different colors and textures, but Lila's contentment remained constant, like the mountains that cradled their village. Each morning she greeted the sun with a grateful heart, and each night she thanked the stars for guiding her to this place of belonging and peace. As years passed like gentle breezes through the meadow grasses, Lila's story became legend in the village, told beneath the ancient oak tree to generation after generation. Children would touch their own unique features with new appreciation after hearing how Lila's crooked horns had saved the flock and changed their community forever. Travelers passing through would often comment on the unusual harmony they found in the village between different animal species. The air itself seemed to carry a special quality, a peacefulness that invited deep, restful breaths and brought a sense of well-being that lingered long after leaving, like the echo of a beautiful melody. And so, in the hidden village nestled between enchanted mountains, life continued with a rhythm as soothing as a lullaby. Every evening, as darkness gently covered the land like a soft blanket, the animals would share grateful moments from their day, their voices blending into a peaceful harmony that drifted up toward the twinkling stars above, carrying dreams and contentment into the night.